Can you believe this? Charlie Kirk straight up dragged Beyoncé, one of the biggest icons alive, calling her music not just not his taste, but trash, unlistenable noise, and disgusting. That's not a casual critique. That's a full-on hit job. The man didn't just say he didn't vibe with her, he went all the way in. And when he aimed his shots at Queen Bey, a lot of people saw it as way more than his usual culture war noise. To them, it was another example of how his fire always seemed to scorch women, people of color, and voices that dared to step outside the margins. Joy Reid and Michelle Obama, and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks. We would have been called but now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. This wasn't just about Beyoncé. It exploded into a much bigger conversation. Folks started saying Charlie wasn't just ranting for clicks. He was helping cement the rage, bitterness, and division that's eating America alive. People claimed he didn't just stir the pot. He poured the poison, stirred it, and then cashed out while the country drowned in it. And whether you loved or hated him, you can't deny he profited off chaos. Now here's the hard truth. While everyone agrees the way his life ended was brutal and wrong, many are pointing out that you can't erase his record. Kirk left behind a paper trail of bigotry, sexism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, and countless offensive comments targeting people of color. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's dribble. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of unfortunately some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. The story is still blowing up everywhere. Charlie Kirk, one of the most well-known conservative activists in America and a loyal ally of Donald Trump, was struck down in the most shocking way imaginable. It all went down at Utah Valley University, right in the middle of an outdoor event packed with thousands of people. Witnesses say Kirk suddenly grabbed at his neck, blood pouring before collapsing out of his chair as horrified attendees screamed and scattered. The scene was pure chaos. People running for their lives, some frozen in shock, unable to believe what they had just seen. We know it's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic. They think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course that's why we need affirmative action because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. Oh no. Imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson. They think this is persuasive. They think as they kind of now reveal that I'm only here because of anti-white, anti-Asian forced discrimination policies that turn me into a bitter, resentful activist that hates white people. Honestly, through the details are chilling. Kirk was addressing a crowd of about 3,000 at what was supposed to be the first stop of a 15-city nationwide tour organized by Turning Point USA, the very group he co-founded. But while he was taking questions from the audience, everything shifted in a split second. Kirk lurched forward, clutching his throat, and within moments, blood was gushing as he toppled to the ground. Emergency crews rushed him to a nearby hospital, but reports confirm he didn't make it. What's even more unsettling is how it happened. Authorities say the shot came from the Lucy Center about 20 minutes into his speech. Drone footage later revealed police tape roping off a rooftop section of the building. And here's the kicker. The distance from that roof to Kirk's chair was roughly 140 yards, easily within the kill range of a trained marksman. This wasn't random. It looked clean, calculated, and terrifyingly professional. The motive's still a mystery, but the reactions have been explosive. No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. You wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before. That's not an immediate no. You wouldn't know who I am. That's not what I believe. It is the reality the left has created. Donald Trump himself was the first to break the news on social media, praising the 31-year-old Charlie Kirk as great and even legendary. Hours later, Trump doubled down with a video statement straight from the White House, calling Kirk nothing less than a martyr for truth and freedom. And of course, he wasted no time blaming what he called the radical left's toxic rhetoric for fueling the attack. Utah Governor Spencer Cox also chimed in, describing the event as nothing short of a political assassination. He voiced deep concern about how fractured America's political climate has become, warning that the nation's discourse has reached a terrifying boiling point. But while powerful leaders are mourning Kirk and painting him as a fallen hero, the internet is not unanimous. Therefore, when it comes to pilots or surgeons, if I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that that person is qualified. That's what I said, which of course is legitimate because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race. Many people online are saying flat out that he doesn't deserve sympathy, arguing that he was a cruel man who built his brand by disrespecting marginalized groups. And the receipts, they're everywhere. For example, Kirk once went on record saying that prominent black women didn't have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. Yes, he actually said that. The clip came from the Charlie Kirk show where he singled out MSNBC host Joy Reid, former First Lady Michelle Obama, Texas Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and even Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Many people, the answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. Charlie Kirk didn't just mention these women. He named them one by one. 4 of the most prominent black women in America, and then dropped words that left jaws on the floor. He basically claimed that their own acknowledgement of affirmative action was a confession that they weren't bright enough to succeed on their own merits. In his words, if we would have said 3 weeks ago that Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called names. But now they're coming out and saying it for us. They're admitting, I'm only here because of affirmative action. And he didn't stop there. Kirk rolled a clip of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee speaking about how she was admitted to certain institutions through affirmative action, and he used that as ammo to slam her intellect. He mocked her with words like, "We know it's obvious to us you are not smart enough to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I had to take opportunities from someone more deserving." That wasn't just criticism. It was character assassination in broad daylight. These comments hit a nerve for obvious reasons. We're talking about women with serious academic receipts. Joy Reid earned her undergraduate degree at Harvard. Michelle Obama not only went to Princeton, but also graduated from Harvard Law. Sheila Jackson Lee started at NYU, transferred to Yale, and later completed UVA Law. And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's a product of Harvard College and Harvard Law School. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She earned both her undergraduate and law degrees from Harvard credentials that speak for themselves. So when Charlie Kirk said that women like her, Michelle Obama, Joy Reid, and Sheila Jackson Lee don't possess the brain processing power to be taken seriously, people instantly called it out as beyond problematic, especially considering Kirk himself only attended Harper College for a single semester before dropping out. The contrast couldn't be more glaring. Critics tore into his claims, pointing out how dangerous his rhetoric really was. Kirk's suggestion that these women were somehow stealing a white person's slot wasn't just insulting. It carried the ugly implication that only white people are entitled to sit in prestigious roles like First Lady, TV host, or even Supreme Court Justice. That kind of logic revealed the root of his bias. And people online weren't letting it slide. And trust, it didn't stop there. Kirk had a long track record of dropping comments that were offensive at best and downright vile at worst. At one point, he flat out said, "If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence or because of affirmative action?" That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was his mindset on full display. He also mocked marginalized identities with statements like, "If you're an NBA pot-smoking black lesbian, do you get treated better than a U.S. Marine?" Then came another outrageous claim happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. And if that wasn't enough, Kirk once declared, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified, baby." That last one resurfaced recently, fueling even more outrage. He said it during a thought crime panel he hosted with Jack Paybeck on the Charlie Kirk Show podcast. On one infamous episode of the Charlie Kirk Show, Kirk sat alongside Jack Poby